everyone, welcome to the Bourbon Bear, and we have our first panel discussion on the Bourbon Bear featuring Jacky Boy, the Frettzle, and Brett Biondi. And as a tradition, Fret, can we get a dough to start the day?
Oh.
There we go. So opening up the conversation right away, Jack, I'm going to ask you the first question here. The Bears are turnover-free. They have not got one turnover in 2 games in the NFL. Does that change on Sunday?
I'm glad we started with this. My one area of optimism for the Bears is that Eberflus is now calling the defense.
I agree.
The first half was rough last week. Second half, though, they made some adjustments. They didn't give up any points, did they?
Second half, though, they had the pick 6, and then no, they
the pick 6. Otherwise,
I don't think the defense gave up. I think the defense gave up a field goal.
Just a field goal? Okay, so
because what was that at half? 10-13, and then the final score was 27. So they gave up 1 touchdown in the second half. But again,
either way, I still think the defense made adjustments, which has not always been the case. True. So that is my one area of optimism. Do I think Patrick Mahomes is going to throw a pick on the Bears? I think they might get more lucky with a fumble.
I can see that. Frettzle, your thoughts on this?
The defense, I think, in my opinion, has been frustrating to watch. I mean, on third down, they make every quarterback look like they're Peyton Manning out there. So hopefully, with Eberflus now calling the shots, and it looked like they were blitzing a lot more against Tampa. So like that needs to be something that becomes more common for them to be able to get some type of pressure, and that's how you get the turnovers, to be honest.
All right, Brett, we'll turn to you really quick.
I wish I was as optimistic as you two are. I do agree that they are going to dial up the pressure, but I think it goes. I think it's important to note that the defense looked bad about 2 quarterbacks trying to find their groove with their new teams in Jordan Love and Baker Mayfield, and now we're going up against Patrick Mahomes. Mahomes and the Chiefs have not been extremely explosive to start the season, but I have a bad feeling that this is a get-right game for the Chiefs rather than a turnover-filled Bears defense flying around making plays.
I could see that, and the yardage total that Mahomes is probably projected. I haven't looked at it on DraftKings or FanDuel, but it's probably got to be 300-plus yards, which is going to be terrifying. But, Fred, you brought up a good point there. That third down defense, I am terrified at 3rd and long now. Yeah. And it's a bad feeling as a fan that it's 3rd and 14, you give a bomb to Mike Evans. 3rd and 14 against the Packers, you give a screen to Aaron Jones that goes for 70 yards. What are they just... Overall, what is going wrong with this 3rd and long defense?
I mean, I think if you watch the Tampa game, you'll see that Stevenson was picked on that entire time. And so, like, it's frustrating because for him, it's all a learning. And, like, he's only going to get better through experience. And, you know, it's not like a snap of the fingers if he's going to be a Jalen Johnson. But I think it all comes down to the pressure on the quarterback. And that first game, they tried to do front 4 pressure, and that just did not work whatsoever.
And I'll turn that actually over to Jack here. So the pressure has been a big issue. We've had 1 recorded sack over 2 games, which in NFL statistics is like almost an anomaly. Like, that's crazy. Yes. How do they change that? Because there were about 3 chances they could have got Baker Mayfield down. They literally grabbed him, bumped him, whatever, but then he just spun out of it.
It's true.
So what can they do better, I guess?
I mean, Brett said it that at least they dialed up some blitzes in the second half.
Yep.
Like, so, I mean, you know, I'm sure Patrick Mahomes will be easier to bring down. I'm sure he
definitely. And Matt Nagy-led offense too.
I listened to, I believe it was the CHGO podcast, and they highlighted that last year the Bears had the worst 3rd down defense in the NFL, and this year they're doing a little bit better. Through 2 games, they are 31st in 3rd down defense.
So you even bring up that fact, too. You spent all this money in the linebacking core, but your defensive line is made up of draft picks and veterans. And you need a good, in the trenches, a good front 4 to have linebackers be successful. Do you have any optimism, especially with the Chiefs having some issues on their O-line, that this D-line does a little bit better today? I'll open it to the floor.
Did I see that Jalen Carter is the highest rated D lineman in the NFL this year?
I can believe that.
Worth noting.
Yep.
I mean, I think with time, that defensive line for the Bears is going to get better just because it can't get worse fundamentally. But I think with those rookies of Pickens and Dexter, like you're seeing, especially in that Tampa game, like Dexter started to show flashes. And throughout the duration of the season, like those guys are going to step up. But I think it's going to be more of a progression for us to actually start to see that defensive line start to make it.
But you still paid all that money to get Tremaine and TJ.
Right.
You need them to do well, or else that was just probably the worst thing you could have done. And you bring up the fact that Carter is the highest-rated defensive lineman in the NFL right now. Do you think Darnell Wright overall, though, being a number 10 pick for the Bears, is having a good season thus far?
I mean, again, like Nick said, there's going to be a progression.
Yeah.
I think at the end of next year, we're stoked with this pick, but I mean, there's going to be growing pains. It's fine. I still think we got a great player.
Yeah.
It's just,
I do too, and especially with Braxton being on the IR now for 4 weeks. You got Jenkins on the IR too, so basically the left side of your offensive line is in shambles.
And Davis, I believe, is questionable as well.
Is he? I know he didn't play against Tampa.
Yeah.
No, that was last week. He's back now, though.
They just announced that
still
he's questionable.
Yeah.
Eddie Jackson
Wow.
is doubtful, and Davis is questionable. And even if he plays, I mean, obviously that's a tragedy, and you need to wonder what his headspace is going to be,
Yep.
even if he plays. And we're already depleted up front, which is
So the
bad.
only optimistic part of that, though, is Chris Jones obviously not doing training camp, not doing the preseason, signing his contract after week 1, so he's still going to be a little probably not in football shape. But ultimately, can we run the ball? Because literally the run game I thought would be our strongest part just looked absent, and it's kind of mind-blowing. So I'll turn it to you.
Sorry, go ahead.
I'll turn to you, Frettzle.
Oh.
Will the run game show up then?
I hope so, because I feel like those first 2 weeks we have not seen them run the ball like the way they did last year, and like that's when you saw that 5-week span of Fields doing so well. It wasn't just like his running the ball, but it was just overall they were forcing the run, so it created those open passing and the play action, and all of that opened up. And so hopefully, that's something they just have to commit to it, but it all ultimately comes down to, are your third string offensive linemen going to be able to create those holes for the running backs to get through?
They miss Monty right now.
Yeah, I agree.
They miss
I
Monty.
agree.
I think they might have thought Herbert and Foreman and Johnson could offset that, but Monty was very good at falling forward and getting that 3 yards when he was somehow trapped.
Yeah.
And they missed that. I think that's a bigger loss than people thought up front.
And I think, and Fred, alluded to this as well, but when the Bears turned it around after the Patriots game last year, we had designed runs, we had designed rollouts, and through 2 games this year, they haven't been doing that. They've been trying to keep Fields in the pocket. They've been trying to get him to make his reads as a passer. I understand that if you want sustained success in the NFL, your quarterback has to be able to do that. However, it takes away the best part of Fields' game. And when you have him moving, when you have the designed runs, it opens things up for the running backs, for seam passes in the middle, for intermediate passing. It opens everything up, and we just haven't been doing it through 2 weeks. I know Jack mentioned that he's optimistic on the defensive side. I'm a little bit more optimistic on the offensive side. We had Fields' comments during the week. I think they're going to actually let him start playing his version of football.
So I'll keep it with you on that point, though, just because he said he felt robotic, and he looked robotic. Sitting in that pocket, he was just kind of doing a little hop step and then just get sacked. I think Justin Fields' success comes when the pocket falls apart. Even if you have a spy linebacker on him, he can break that first tackle or make the miss. Do you think we're going to see, especially with Justin saying, I'm going to play football how I want to play football this game, he put his neck on the line with that comment. So now it's going to be more of the shift. A lot of people are blaming Getsy. This is kind of a make or break for Fields. If he's going to play the way he wants to play and he thinks he's good at, he put his neck on the line with that comment. What do you think we're going to see, though, if he does change his style? And it sounds like it's going to be more of that design QB run type situation, but what do you think there?
That's exactly what I think they're going to do. I think they're going to call the designed rollouts, more play action, designed quarterback runs. I don't believe that he has had a designed run yet this season.
I think he has one or two.
Yeah, but he was averaging, 6 a game
On
last
3rd
year?
and 14, I think
Yes.
they ran one.
And I think we need to, and it's not, the stereotypical NFL offense, but that's playing to Justin's strengths, and that's what we're going to have to do if we're going to start putting up points.
And I'll turn it to Fred here. So Getsy obviously coached Aaron Rodgers, and it looks like he's trying to make him equivalent to Aaron Rodgers. He's not Aaron Rodgers, let's be real. Very few people in the NFL are. But the fact that Justin kind of put this all on the line, though, what do you expect him from this Chiefs game to have in terms of ground yards, air yards, whatever you want to say about that?
I mean, I expect an overall strong performance through the air and on the ground from Justin as someone who, because the flip side of it is you don't believe that, and then he's going to fall apart, and then it's Tyson Badgett time. And listen,
we're calling it this early.
In preseason, Badgett he didn't look bad, but he's also going against 4 stringers. So Fields, we've seen that flash. It's catching that lightning in a bottle and making sure that everything's aligning for him to be as successful as he can. they've set him up, minus the injuries at the offensive line. Like, he has weapons now, so he has to go out there and just play free and easy. And I hope that's something that they can figure out. Cause
Jack giggled there, so I'll let you comment on it.
Yeah, I mean, you said he put his neck on the line, but coming into the year, it was all up to Fields anyways. Like, it was make or break, and game one was, okay, they've got the plan in place. You brought in the weapons. This is to prove it year no matter what.
True.
Like, they have presumably top 10 picks coming next year. So it's unfortunate that in week 2 we're already thinking about that. But it is week 2, so they played 2 games. It is week 3. Maybe this is rock bottom. Maybe the only way to go is up.
Seriously.
Brett said he's optimistic about the offense. It's like, well, I hope so. I think they've had 2 good drives all year.
Yeah.
And that, I think I commented on another video, but it almost feels like it's the Nat year again, where you have a good opening drive, scripted perfectly.
Yeah.
But then you can't adapt.
Yeah.
Do you think Getsy and Fields, with this new kind of recollection, Brett, that they can actually get sustained drives against the Chiefs?
I think that if they tailor the offense towards Justin's strengths, like we were just talking about, if they keep him in the pocket like he has been and forcing him to make these reads, he's been way too hesitant. We all saw the screenshot where they had the seam, they had more on the out, and he wound up taking the sack. He was just gun shy. And if they start rolling him, that's my basis of my optimism, is that they're actually going to start playing in his strengths. If they don't do that, it's going to be a very long day.
I agree with that.
If they do it, I think we could see an offense similar to the back half of last year.
Which was just trash.
All of that happened after the bye week, right?
Correct.
Yeah. I mean, that being said, though, turning not to sour on the Bears season this year, but there is a very legit chance, if you've been watching the Panthers games, I mean, they've actually been putting up a fight, but now that, and I'm blanking on the name right now, Bryce Young is injured. We got Andy Dalton in there. If these 2 picks are top 10, even possibly top 5, which they're projected to be both picks, which is insane, it's too early to say you're going to get Caleb Williams. I think the Cardinals are tanking on purpose. There's no way you should have blown that lead to the Giants. It makes no sense. But let's take Caleb out of the equation. What would you draft positionally if you have 2 top 5 picks and Justin delivers and becomes the guy? Fred, I'll turn it over. Yeah, go start with you.
It's week 3, guys.
I was going to say that it's week 3. Here's the thing, I don't think both of those things can be true. If the Bears end up with 2 top 5 picks, then Justin Fields is not the guy.
True.
Then they're probably going to quarterback.
But we're doing hypothetical. So obviously right now, I think you need to obviously invest a little bit more in the defensive line, at edge especially. The secondary, everyone thought would be so good this year. And obviously Kyler Gordon breaking his hand the first game, that sucks. It is what it is, though. But Stevenson, you thought would be a little bit better against Evans and Fred. You touched on this earlier. What do you think of his long-term success? I know it's so early to judge, but
well, it's the same thing with Kyler last year, where it's just like that learning curve is so different compared to what they played in college. So I think he's gonna. I mean, if he's starting as a rookie already, that guy's going to be good. He's a big physical corner. It's gonna take him some time to catch up and understand the speed of the NFL. So I think throughout time, those 3, if they keep Jalen Johnson, that is a very good tandem core to have from a secondary standpoint. But from a draft perspective, not including quarterback, I would go D-line, O-line. Because that is where that game is won, is that front 7.
Yep.
And, I mean, their D-line is atrocious. And their O-line, as you can see, you're never going to play with the same front 5 throughout all games. You need depth as much as you can. So I would say those should be your top 2.
On the DBs, one under the radar piece is those guys are never healthy.
No,
Johnson has had issues. Gordon has now had issues. Stevenson's early, but that's a big piece. Is those guys have not played a lot of football over the last 3 years.
Yeah,
they miss a lot of time, and that's very tough.
Yeah, it is tough
because they do have on paper they should be good.
Yeah,
but if you're not playing.
Well, it's even more about the fact that you need to build those trenches too, because if you give them all day, they're going to get open. Yeah. That's just how the NFL works.
Right.
But turning the
on third down.
Exactly. Oh my God. But turning it to the elephant in the room of Chase Claypool, because Lord knows I'm not happy with the pick. But Brett, you had some thoughts earlier today. I want to open the floor for just what you think he can be or what he just fails to be.
I want to like Chase Claypool. I want to like him. I cannot stand him. He is 6'4", 225, whatever he is. He's massive. He runs. I mean, he's got 4.4 speed. He looks the part, and then he's just such a soft player. Like you saw at week 1, you saw him missing the screen blocks. He had a nice touchdown last week. He had a nice touchdown. It was a nice throw by Justin. It was a nice catch. But he's so inconsistent and so frustrating. And we were talking about it. I think he had like 9 touchdowns his rookie year, and I think he has like 3 since. Mm-hmm. And it's just so frustrating because he looks like he looks almost like Calvin Johnson looked, and he plays just so soft. Yeah. And hopefully something snaps and something clicks for him. Because we dream about this offense with Mooney in the slot, with Claypool on the outside, DJ Moore running intermediate routes, Kmet in the seam. On paper, it sounds so great, and they just can't execute on it, and it's just incredibly frustrating. I know it's only been 2 games, but
no, and I'm with you. You can't complain about history. The ink's dry. We traded a second. It would have been a first rounder in hindsight, but it happens. So we want him to develop, but based on, I guess, what the Bears are going to do next year, you're only going to keep Mooney or Claypool. It's going to be one or the other. You're probably not paying top dollar for both receivers. That wouldn't make any sense in this offense.
Are you going to keep either of them?
That's true. It could be none of them. But you're not keeping both is what I'm kind of going at. If you want to keep one, right now, odds are it's going to be Mooney.
Well, you can also fall back to that draft, and I know it's too early to discuss the draft, but if the Panthers pick is, let's say it's the 3rd pick, and in your scenario you said that Fields turned the corner, Marvin Harrison Jr. is a no-brainer.
Yep.
Especially if you don't want to sign both of Mooney and Claypool.
Agreed. And I think they're going to have the cap space too. I mean, they did make that Yannick Ngakoue signing a little bit later. I pronounced it right.
Nice.
There we go.
Yeah.
They did make that later in the off season, but they still are going to have a lot of cap room next year. So there are things you're going to be able to fill. But ultimately, what you guys are all watching Ryan Poles try to build, I'm just a little disappointed because I did think this year would be the capstone of at least we're seeing a team develop. We have not seen that through 2 games.
No.
So what is your confidence level, and we open this to the panel, in Ryan Poles as a GM? And that's a loaded question, but Fred, you don't want to get in.
No, I applaud everything that he's done because essentially what he's had to tear down the entire foundation that was already set and rebuild from the ground up. And so, I mean, I think it's not showing right now, but I mean, I have hope that it's going to start to show throughout the rest of this season and really start to show into next year once these players have 2 to 3 years under their belts for.
And you got to give a GM that much time. I agree with you 100%. But
and you need to also remember, I mean, a lot of this is on Fields, and Fields was not a Poles decision. He inherited Fields, so I think the jury has to remain out on him until he gets. If Justin doesn't work out, he needs his shot at a quarterback.
It is crazy how uncommon it is for the Bears to have it perfectly lined up where it's the GM, the head coach, and the quarterback to all be in the same cycle. Where if you look back, and there was an article on The Athletic I was reading this morning, back through like after Lovey, it has never been aligned as it is right now. So it's not even aligned right now because Fields was a draft by Pace.
Could you counter though? Trubisky was a Pace, Nagy,
but it was Pace and Fox. Like he didn't touch on Fox about it.
That's true.
So it's
that's true.
And then that he also inherited Jay Cutler. Emery signed him to a massive contract. The next year, Emery was fired.
Yeah.
And so it's just like that is all the way up to the top of how dysfunction.
And that's just the pain of being a Bears fan. Yeah. It's just nothing can align to your point exactly. Yeah. I guess it just never falls into place. But Jack, will open it to you there too.
I'm not out on Poles, but the players have to make plays.
Yep.
Thus far, they haven't. The coaching has been a little suspect, so I think those are maybe bigger issues right now. But is Poles blameless in this? I can't say.
Correct.
Because he's not like I said, the Claypool trade was bad. The free agents have been. I mean, they've not had a lot of good free agents. Like their draft picks, players that leave the Bears do not go on to play for other teams.
Yeah.
So, and I know they're trying to be bad last year. They're trying to be bad in ways this year too. But the one thing that I cannot get over is you have Fields and you hire a defensive coach and an unproven OC. It's a quarterback league. You have to develop the quarterback, and they always seem to struggle to do that. It's not just polls, but it's the same. It seems to be the same story nearing the midway point, and we'll find out at the end of the season. But I'm a little worried.
We're keeping it with you here because you brought it up, especially Eberflus has lost 12 in a row, and it's almost terrifying to think as like an NFL franchise you lose 12 games in a row in any season. But now we're on back. It's
almost been a year.
It's been almost a year. I call at the beginning of the year that Eberflus is going to be on the hot seat. And right now in Vegas, he is the odds-on favorite to be the first head coach fired. Yeah. You're only 1 year into his tenure, 1 year and 2 games. I'm going to look at NFL calendar here. But is there a chance he gets fired before the season ends?
No chance. The Bears never do that. They never fire a coach in season. Again, it's only been 2 games. The defensive guy has not had a good defense. That's the biggest problem. Mm-hmm. But he is calling the plays. If it starts to trend in the right direction, which, I mean, seriously, this week, it'd be hard to say this week is not rock bottom. I don't know how it can get worse, knock on wood. But, they have a bye. Whatever. They have the bye. They could have a tough record going in, but, there's a long season ahead.
I have a build off of what Jack just asked. Jack just mentioned how this week is rock bottom with all of the reports coming out. So building on that, Alan Williams, can we hear your thoughts on what is going on?
I'll open the floor to it, but first off, all the misinformation that went on at Hallis Hall being raided, the story of Peanut being like the FBI informant, that was actually good content. Like this year has been so full of sadness that I was actually excited by that. I'm like, all right, this is kind of funny.
Right.
Turns out it wasn't true, but that fact that is true apparently, according to the reports, is that his house was raided. I don't want to speculate because people have just thrown so much stuff in the air that I'm not going to go out and say what all Twitter or whatever America's saying about it. But it's just so dysfunctional of a team. And Pat McAfee mentioned it. Like, he played for him. They're like, we never would have thought anything like this would happen to him. But it's just so the Bears being this franchise that you just look at it, it's just like, why is it always us? Why can't we have nice things? Yeah. And it's just so frustrating that the only attention we're probably going to get isn't going to be from a football perspective this year. It's going to be because of this drama. Mm-hmm. Brett, I'll open up to you there, too.
Yeah, I just think with everything that went on this week, and I know we all alluded to it, it's just like, it almost feels like the Tampa game was like 3 or 4 weeks ago because, we had that whole situation, which I do not want to speculate on. Mm-hmm. We had the Fields comments that got people going.
A little overblown.
DJ Moore liked a tweet that was saying that.
No, that was Britzker, I think.
Britzker liked the tweet.
Also a non-story.
Like that was a non-story, but like there's all of these little things. We're putting left tackles on the IR. Yeah. Like it's just there's not a normal week for the Bears. No. And by the way, now we're going into Arrowhead and we're playing the defending Super Bowl champions. Yeah. Like it's just like it can't get any worse than this.
I don't know how
at this point.
Yeah. Well, I do know how it could. We won't say that.
All right, so we'll end it here, though. So we're coming into Arrowhead on Sunday at 3:20 or 3:25. What are your thoughts? We're going to circle here, but Bears' prediction of the game, score-wise, and just overall thoughts of what we're going to see. Jack, we'll start with you.
I cannot confidently say the Bears are going to go in there and win. I think the offense might be better. I think they might put up some points, but Baker Mayfield torched the Bears defense last weekend. He missed, Chris Godwin for what should have been a touchdown. Yeah. Like, Patrick Mahomes is not going to miss those throws. I'm a little nervous. But again, like I said, the Bears could score points. That could be because they're down 28-7, and they have a big second half against nobodies. I hope they keep it. I think the Bears keep it close. What's the over? Do you know?
The over, I think, is 49. I thought it was 49 and a half almost, but maybe it's 48.
I like the over, though.
You like the over? All right, Fred, we'll turn to you.
Score?
Yes. Or end game thoughts, whatever you want to say your piece now.
Yeah, I think, listen, they're going up against a Matt Nagy-led offense, which only benefits them.
It's true.
Yes.
They're going to run a lot of jet sweeps on 3rd and 1, so we know that that's coming, but I think with them just playing with their 3rd and 4th string offensive linemen, that just it makes things really difficult for when Justin says, I want to go out and play my game, when you're doing it with offensive linemen who already are not very good. So I think 28-24. So they keep it close, they put up some points, but ultimately, they start to show some signs of life. I'm a very hopeful guy, so I'm prepared for everything just kind of come tumbling down. But I'll say Chiefs win 28-24.
Yeah, I agree with the sentiment that hopefully the offense shows some signs of life, even with the offensive line injuries. I'm not super optimistic on the defense. I alluded to it earlier. The Chiefs' offense has been struggling a little bit this year. This kind of feels like a get-right game for the Chiefs, unfortunately. I'm going to go Chiefs 38, Bears 27.
Okay. So they would still cover in that scenario, though. I like that. Because I'm with both of you, actually all three of you, on this point that I think the Bears offense, and it might be garbage time, but they're going to put up some good numbers against this Chiefs team. I really do, even with a failing offensive line. I think Justin has a rebound game. Even if it isn't a win, it's probably the get-right game for the Chiefs, but I think it's also a get-right game for Justin Fields.
Yeah.
So I have, and I always hate saying this, but I have the Chiefs 30, Bears 20. They will cover the game, but Justin puts up 2 touchdowns, and I think the rushing game, this is going to be a bold statement, it's including Fields, puts over 100 yards on the ground, though. I want to see that on the Bears. If we don't see it, we're screwed. But that's all the time we have for today. Bear down, fans. Bear down.